Hey guys, this is Derek here with Equinox Project Studio and the Pro Audio Files. We're here today with part 2 of the screaming tutorial, where we'll pretty much be focusing on adding harmonics to the scream vocal and also playing with the stereo field to kind of get it to be wider, a bit more aggressive, and to help it sit a little better in the mix. So we're going to be working with the same band last time. It is going to be a different song. I wanted to choose a song that kind of showcased the wider vocals a little better. So I'll play the first verse here and you guys can kind of hear how that width really helps the vocal. So let me go ahead and just make sure I have this all set up and we'll listen to that first verse. So you guys can hear, if your ears are like mine, that it sounds pretty big, sounds pretty in your face. And you can compare that to what just a single take would sound like without the double there, and here is just a single vocal. It's night and day. You get such a big stereo effect when that double's on there, and really brings it to life in my opinion. And I'll show you guys how I do it. It's really a simple process. You'll even notice I don't even have a true double take. I'm using a doubler for this, and it works great. It saves time. I just think it's one of the best ways to do it. You know, if I had the choice between recording an actual double and doing this, I find that this sounds just as good. And again, it's a lot quicker. So this is usually my choice rather than recording a true double. So we'll go through the process right here. You guys can see that I was using the Waves doubler here in my double track. Any doubler will do just fine. So let's go ahead and bypass that. And we will go ahead and add that in again, and I'll go ahead and show you guys kind of my workflow when I'm working with the Waves doubler here. So let me go ahead and mute, and I'll just solo the double vocal just for just the purpose of showing you guys what it sounds like on its own. So here's how I'll usually process it. We'll just loop this area here. First things first, I pull out the center channel on the doubler because you don't need it at all. We already have that single top take up there, which is going to occupy the center of the sound field. We don't need anything else from the doubler in there. And you can go ahead and ignore the gain because we have a discrete channel we can use to modify that. Leave them panned hard left and hard right. I find that's usually best. You can adjust how wide you want it again with the fader level, so don't worry about the pan. The things you do need to worry about, specifically with this Waves doubler, it should be the same with any other doubler, is going to be the delay and the detune pitch, okay? And you can kind of play with those to taste any really extreme values. You usually kind of start hearing some negative artifacts that don't really sound too pleasant, so kind of just play with it. We'll go ahead and start with the delay first.
Sometimes what I need, sometimes what I need, sometimes what I need.
And the main thing to focus on when you're using the delay values is to, kind of create a deviation between the left and the right side. There should be, a good amount of time in between them to the more time in between those sides, the wider it's going to appear. So you should have a pretty good, again, deviation in the delay time between the left and the right side. Too much can kind of get loose sounding, especially when you add the center. So, anywhere between, 6 to about 15 or so is usually what I'll put it in right there. So that'll be good for that, and we can go ahead and work on the detune. And again, going with values that are too extreme can create some nasty sounding artifacts. So we'll just kind of play with it and get it to taste here.
Sometimes what I need, sometimes what I need, sometimes what I need, sometimes what I need.
I want them both a little lower to give me a little more beef out of it there and make it sound a little more guttural, which I kind of like on a double to usually be a little bit lower in most cases. So that sounds good right there. We can go ahead and bring back in the center vocal and see how that sounds.
Sometimes what I need, sometimes what I need, sometimes what I need, sometimes what I need.
Sounds good. It's really occupying and filling up the sound space a lot better. It's a lot more aggressive and it's a lot more engaging to listen to. It's not going to be super plain Jane or boring right up the middle. It's not predictable. It's just a lot better sounding in my opinion. So that's what I'll do usually for sweetening up the sound field of the vocal a little bit there. And now we'll kind of go and talk about the harmonics, which I actually took care of predominantly on our bus channel here. You can see I used my trusty BX saturator, which I absolutely love. It's probably one of my favorite plugins, period. I talk about it all the time. So we'll go ahead and look at that here, and I'll start from scratch kind of on this as well, and we'll pull that in again, and I'll show you what my workflow is this. And you know, it's probably not going to be the exact same as I had it, because sometimes I find I like different things. You know, there's not a right or a wrong way to do it. So I can stop talking for a second and find the BX saturator on here. There we go. And we'll go ahead and start. I usually start with the middle here. You guys probably know this is a mid-side plugin where you can adjust the center separately and the sides separately. So we'll start with the center, we'll start with the low and find a good crossover. And again, let's solo it just for the sake of hearing what's going on. Okay? And what I'm looking for here is the real guts and kind of the balls of the sound right here. This is where the real aggression is going to be for the most part, is in that really low resonant frequency of his voice. So that's what we're looking for, and I think that's that right there. Now what I like to do is just really oversaturate it and just get it filthy and clipping if possible.
Sometimes, from my day. Sometimes, from my day. Sometimes, from my day. Sometimes, from my day.
We got that clipping pretty good there, and that's just really gonna make it a lot beefier sounding, I find. And now we can go ahead and move into the top frequency and adjust that accordingly. Be warned, be careful with the top frequencies. You know, anything above generally, you know, even a thousand hertz or so can get you into trouble with sibilance, so you need to be careful. Again, we'll listen for that and be careful adding these harmonics.
Sometimes, run like me. Sometimes, run like me.
Okay, so that sounds okay. We may have to back off on that a little bit. Now let's go ahead and focus over on the sides here, and again, we'll kind of find the beef of the sound.
Sometimes, run like me. Sometimes, run like me.
We'll add a little bit there. We don't need so much. I'm mainly adding the harmonic content to the center channel of the vocals there. So this is just kind of a little bit here, and I generally won't add much, if any, top end. You guys can kind of hear it sounds a little funky, like there's a little phasing, and there will be a little bit of phasing caused, you know, with the doubler. That's essentially what it's doing. It's moving the same waveform out of phase a little bit, and there's one on the left, there's one on the right, so it will have a kind of a phasey sound, which isn't noticeable at all, and it doesn't really take away from the sound when we listen again in context. So let's go ahead and play back everything with the harmonics, with the doubler, and see what we've got with the mix here, and I think it's going to sound pretty tasty.
Sometimes, run like me. Then sometime away to finally.
Sounds good. So that's how I generally process screamed vocals as far as the harmonics and the stereo field manipulation go. I hope that you guys found it helpful, and I hope that it helps you kind of take your screaming vocal productions to the next level. Again, this is Derek signing off from Equinox Project Studio and the Pro Audio Files. Hope you have an awesome week. Talk to you later.